So the plan for today for this guy is to make him a head. Obviously a perfect sphere is not the shape of a human head. It is more oval in shape. So to create that shape, what we do is we take a sphere that is actually 1 3/4 of an inch, which is exactly the unit size that I've used to build his structure. So this is 1 unit, 1 3/4, and I'm going to cut off each side to represent and to more accurately show the side planes of a human head. So first thing to do is to grind this thing down. And of course I've got a whole abrasives drawer dedicated to abrasives. I'm going to use this one. It is ceramic. It's 36 grit, so it is really aggressive. Should make quick work of that large steel ball. Now you might be asking, well, how much do you grind off? Very fair question. I probably would have just eyeballed it in the past. But with some of these formal sculpting classes I've been taking, when they reference clay, they talk about a ball first out of clay that is 1 unit, which in my case is 1.75 inches. And when you cut this off, the circle that you create after you cut off should be about 2/3 of this diameter, which is about 1 1/8 inches. So I got this little compass tool and I've measured it to about 1 1/8 inches, and I've kind of marked out like this, equal distance, create a circle, so I know how deep I can grind to create that proper sizing. So it can get kind of tricky, perfectly grinding or cutting off the opposite side, right? Imagine if I am slightly off center, then it'll be sort of lopsided and I won't have ground off the sides evenly and symmetrically. So what you do is you divide it into 4 quadrants, continue the line, okay, nice and straight. Do the same thing on this side, continue the line. Where they intersect will be the middle of that side so that they will be symmetrical. Now I can draw a circle around this as the center point and then grind from there. Okay, there, now I have the circle on the should be perfectly opposite side of that one that I'm going to grind down. Do not let this rod here that's only here for support to hold as I'm grinding, don't let that deceive you because it's crooked, right? I just welded it on crooked relative to these 2 circles. So if you look at them both by themselves, they should be perfectly parallel. Now we got the sphere with both planes ground down to roughly even size and parallel. Broken up into quadrants as well. You got the ears, as you can imagine, over here on each of these sides. Now, this line is the brow line, so just below here is where the eyes go. Bottom of the nose connects to this line, which connects back to the bottom of this quadrant. Now, if I take this distance, which is about 3/4, and add another 3/4 from this one, so down about here, out in this realm is where the chin will go. So I'm going to weld a wire here about that length, and then I'm going to go to the left and to the right with wires for the jaw. And look, suddenly we have a rough outline of a Loomis head. So now if you kind of compare it to that mannequin there, just the overall big picture of his head, his jaw, and his face, you got the proper outline. So I cut the wire in the middle to length to the bottom of his chin, welded a perpendicular wire, and then bent back from the chin to the jaw, and then joined it with another wire. Now if the jaw is too wide, I can simply grind it down and reshape it. After I fill in all this empty space with more wires and welds, it'll be more solid and I can refine and reshape the face as I want to. And then from here, it's simply a matter of adding more wires and welds on top of those wires to start filling it in, making it appear solid. It's a bit ugly right now, just trust the process. The more you add on top, the better, because you can always knock it down and refine and reshape after the fact. With a bit more grinding and refinement and smoothing out all the planes, the Loomis head is done. Now my style of Loomis head is very chunky. I wouldn't call it anatomically correct, I just like this sort of mannequinized face, and I love the faceless style. So my style of Loomis head is, I don't know, I guess I'd call it like a knight's helmet. That's sort of how I see it. The last thing that I had to grind was the top surface here of the skull, just because, again, human skulls aren't perfectly domed. The back is quite domed though, so I kind of leave that, but I grind off the top and blend all the planes together, and there is the finished Loomis head. And here it is attached. This Loomis head, even though it is faceless, adds a ton of dimension and emotion. Just having the subtle nuances to how he tilts his head, which is kind of hard to tell in video, but his right jaw is sort of tilted up because he's sort of reaching the limits of how much a human can turn their head. So he's sort of desperately aiming back, and as a result, he's reaching that limit, and his jaw line in his right side here, or our left, is sort of tilting up. So he's just desperately turned back, and it just looks really cool. Obviously, a lot more flesh, a lot of muscle, a lot more substance that needs to go into this, so it still looks a little bit awkward. But that is now something I can work on, having this head for reference. So suffice it to say, this is the update for today. Thanks for following along.